All right, so this morning what we're going to do is a quick review of what we did last Saturday, and then we'll move on from there. Huh? Yeah, jump in whenever you're ready. Um, so last Saturday we looked at uh, the two circles and the two worlds of BaGua, just trying to get a theoretical sense of what it is that it's based upon, where did it find its roots, things along those lines. The two primary circles we spoke about was the one where the Earth rotates around the sun, and the second one is where the Earth rotates on its own axis, right? We represent, my seafood chewing was great about a couple of things, and one of those was when you would read stuff like that. Of course, it never said that because when the book was written, there wasn't so much understanding about the Earth rotating around the sun so much, right? But they would have other metaphors for it. But you were supposed to be able to physically represent that. The physical representation of the revolutions around the sun are done from your hips down through your legs. Okay. So when you're walking, your circle, which in the beginning is predefined so that it's a little easier for you, like our predefined circle over there, a nice big fluffy circle. Later on, things become more circle-ish than circle, right? So the revolutions around the sun, you put something in the middle, walk around, usually nice and big, about 16 steps. As we spoke about last week, the outside leg is going to toe in just a little bit down the tangent of the circle. Uh, so the rotation of the Earth around its axis is done through your dantian. Okay, so that's where you will have that part of you where you will turn. So if I'm walking in a straight line this way, then my body might rotate here. So I'm rotating on my axis. If I'm walking in a circle, I'm not only turning the legs around the revolutions, I'm turning the axis of the body. And that will change side to side, what kind of flexibilities you got, all that kind of stuff, right? Um, and then the two worlds. The two worlds of the BaGua was the Sentian and the Haotian. The Sentian is the Chinese, the seafood would call it the before birth world. And then Haotian was afterbirth world. Usually that's translated a lot of times as in the beginning. In the sentient world, it's pretty much like just becoming aware of nature, just observation of nature. Before you were born, while you were being born, after you're born, just having a state of mind where you can observe nature. Uh, then the next part is the Haotian world, and that's when we usually get into the change palms of BaGua, because in that thought process, when you're just observing the world, you really don't need much. Just like an infant doesn't need much to understand mom. He doesn't. Child doesn't even have to be born yet to know what kind of mood mom's in. Right? Pretty simple stuff. Don't overwork it. The other part of it was like I said, the Haotian and the afterbirth world is where we become aware of nature, but then we become aware of our relationship with our nature, with the things around us. And that's when we start to have techniques and skills, right? So that we can work with, move along, protect ourselves from the things in our context of our nature or in our natural environment, right? So it doesn't matter. Those are really important components. So they physically represent that through the style of BaGua, right? That's why when you first walk, you just walk or you hold some postures to represent the sentient world. Once you can do that, then learning some change palms is fine. If you can't do that, then change palms really are kind of pointless because all you're learning now is more movement. All right, so let's go through the 5 bilateral palms that we usually start with, and we'll do about 9 breaths each, see how it goes. And we're just going to do it out of a horse stance. All right. So the first one is the lake. That's where the palms rise up. They press down and in for the lower abdomen. The tiger's mouth turn toward the lower dantian, which will naturally get the arms to fluff out a little bit. Usually what that will also do for me is I feel my back open up, okay? The back of my shirt will kind of spread around. I don't make that happen. I just point these toward that and it happens. All right. So from there, we'll sit, we'll take 9 breaths. And in this process, you're just trying to learn stillness and stillness. You might become aware of some movement in stillness. But just try to be quiet. Good. Taking a breath as you exhale, let the palms rise up in front of your chest and heart, and then spread out. Palms upward toward the sky, about the level of your ears, just at the edge of your peripheral vision. Good. Let the hands wrap around your core, and then press them down and out and away. There we go. The first 3 palms, like we spoke about last week, are called the 3 pressing. Okay. Now what we'll do is add the another 2. So what I want you to do is just sweep the arms back toward your kidneys, palms up toward the sky here. Good. And they come out by the lungs. You bump together the heel of the hand, reach up and out. Make sure, if you can, that the hands are about the level of your chin. And then once again, your back should round out toward the front a little bit. Part of the naturalness that you're trying to find right now is the quietness inside yourself, for one, ideally. But you might be able to smell the dew as it begins to evaporate off the grass, or the warmth of the sun, the little finch sitting in the tree just chirping along. When you get real good and quiet occasionally, you may even feel your own heartbeat. Beautiful. Now the hands are going to swim by your lungs, kind of reverse the circle a little bit. This time they're going to swim around to the front, level your face as if you're looking through a little pie hole or something. Okay, good. Exhale, just let the palms come down to the lower abdomen. Take yourself a little rest. Good. All right. Morning sweat rolling off of me. All right. Now what we're going to do, and Abe, Mr. Speed, I may have y'all walk around a little bit on this one. All right. The next palm we're going to add for today is the signature palm for BaGua. Okay. And we refer to it as the piercing palm. Um, so on this one, let's just get the hand gesture correct first. If I'm just taking my hand and pushing out to the side, I want to make sure that my index finger is up toward the sky, and that the knife part, the ridge of my hand, is the furthest part away from me. Okay. I think we did this a couple of weeks ago in a mental meal, because I remember laughing my ass off. Remember to make the dragon's claw. All right. Get the little finger underneath the ring finger. All right. And then try to keep that out and push it out. If I turn to the side here, now I could not do this when I first began, right? Because I didn't have the flexibility. What will happen is when you try to push it out as far as you can, what will happen is either your index finger will drop or your palm will turn away from you. But that's the shape of the hand. So push it out there, try to keep it out there. Okay. Good. Now let's do the other side. I like to make the dragon claw right off the bat. Get the index finger up, look through the tiger's mouth, and just push it out. It does not matter how far it goes out. You just get what you get. Okay. Vader, turn your palm a little bit toward me. Toward me. There you go. So your Lao Gong is the Lao Gong. The center of your palm is pointing about 90 degrees away from you. There you go. Good. All right. So that's the handshake. We can talk about application some other time. Let's just take the posture now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to face this way, but I'm going to put my right leg forward and first just sit in an empty stance, foot flat on the earth. By empty stance, that means that this foot is empty. Okay. Not lum fu. Okay. No weight. If you can't lift it, then you got weight on it. right? Sit back, bend that rear knee a little bit if you can. Of course, if you know your leg strength and all dictate a lot, but do what you can with it and look for that as your goal. All right. Then we have what we call the giraffe posture. And I'm going to turn for the camera here in just a second. This is where the my right arm goes out about the level of my chin. I go ahead and make the dragon's claw right there. My left palm is about level of my heart underneath or close to underneath that elbow. Like so. Okay. Good. Now from right there, I want to practice the axis rotating on itself, the earth rotates. So I'm going to keep my legs here and I'm going to turn my waist, keeping that structure just as much as I can. And then when I get it where that's as far as it's going to go, then I turn the palm away into the piercing palm. You're overdoing it, Gallagher. How can I tell? Your arms are separating. Good man. That's right. If you know, once your extended arm starts to separate from the yin arm, you're trying to push it too far. The whole structure is supposed to move. How would you feel like if half the world started slipping around so it could force the axis to move faster? It'd throw everything out, wouldn't it? So don't screw up my simple plan. I wonder if the gods think about like that sometimes when they're watching us down here. Please don't screw up my simple plan. That burn a little bit? Yeah, good. No extra charge for that. Yeah, yeah, you can rotate more if you're fully back weighted, but it burns more. So there's a cost to it. Okay, let's bring it to the front. Nice and easy. When I come to the front, I just switch over to the other side. My weight goes onto my right leg. I toe out just a little bit. Left leg empty extends itself. Some folks call this the giraffe posture because of the long neck and that kind of thing. That's just what they call it. I don't know if there's a giraffe in all of China, but that's what they call it, right? Now, from here, we rotate, then turn, push the palm out. Burn, baby, burn. I feel like that Elvis song. Lord Almighty, I feel my temperature rising. Ooh. Two more breaths. Good. Swim to the front. Bring it down to neutral for a minute. Good. All right. So before we pop along, any observations or questions? Well, that's a good question. The uh, the posture itself is really not in the Hao Tian. You can talk about any posture you want. It's what you're doing while you're in a posture. Once you start to look into techniques and applications, now you have leaped over to the Hao Tian. So I can pretty much stand in any posture I want. And if my focus is on me and the natural environment of things, then that's a Sin Tian approach, right? And you try to develop that first. Y'all do all this anyway. That's why you start with the 9 spot and you're posting, right? So everything is about here. right? And then later on, you become aware of the outside as well. But first, you have to focus on yourself. All right. So, but that's a good question. Once you start going into applications and things like that, that's why I said we'll talk more about the Pearson Palm applications at another time. Um, okay. So, do you have any questions on any of the other BaGua that you had learned so far? No? Okay. And what I want to do is first encourage you to practice BaGua regularly, not to sacrifice your Tai Chi or one or the other. You know, they're both extremely important for your overall development. And one just, and sometimes there's an overlap, and you have to practice each enough so that you can begin to see the overlap. But in the beginning, many times Bakwa seems such like a different beast altogether, and it is for the most part. But there's a lot of overlap inside of there, not just in theory, but also in some of its approaches to things. But the biggest part of it is that you're trying to learn how to turn your body. And I can honestly tell you, Bakwa is probably the best art if you're just looking and hoping to achieve better flexibility and have a better mindset about things and have a full spectrum of things to work on. Bakwa is outstanding, and you never have to learn a change palm. There's plenty of exercises to help you with that anyway. Right. So let's go ahead and let's take now, and we're going to do a couple of other little things that go along with that Sentian work. We did the piercing palm. The other one that's really good, and these are part of my strengthening. I do these at least twice a week, whether I'm with y'all or not, for my overall strength training or body conditioning is what I call it, whether it's hitting the pole or some of the other stuff. So scanning the sea is a really good one for your overall erector spinae, legs, torso, core, right? And so what we're going to do is I'm going to face this way to start with, but I'm going to step out with my right foot in a good long bow stance. My left toe is turned out about 30 to 45 degrees, and then I'm going to push my knee forward to where it gets about over my foot. Okay. From here, I'm going to take my palms off my side, and I'm going to open them up so that my thumbs turn toward the earth. My palms turn out. You can see me shifting my weight forward further and leaning my torso as far forward as I can. And we just stay right here for about 9 breaths. And pull it back. I give you a little burn and shake. Shaky, shaky. Yeah, that's good. That strengthens and stretches a lot, doesn't it, Bader? Ooh. You know, I tell a lot of folks, you know, especially a lot of my patients, not so much the young people because they don't listen anyway, right? That's what the part of the Taoist teachings. Don't even bother trying to teach a young man under 30 too much important stuff because he's usually too reckless and too stupid to listen anyway. Most of us can resemble that. Could have been the bookmark for it during your time phrase. Yes. Okay. But one of the things is I'll usually tell them, look, if you can't hold yourself up, then please God don't pick up a weight. Why would you be lifting weights when you can't even hold your own ass up? Your mirror muscle. You might want to shave. All right. Let's go forward. Shift the weight forward a little bit. Get that rear end forward. Then take your time, stretch it out, scanning across the sea. Good. Back off of it. Woo! It gets the fire moving, doesn't it? All right. So the last thing we'll do, hey, Ryan, is well, not the last thing. I'm gonna get some water here real quick before. All right, is we'll do one exercise for just the overall mobility. And y'all have all done it before, but dragon whips his tail is an exercise. It's not really a technique, but it supplements or it's the core of many techniques later on, right? There's a lot in it. And once you start seeing the applications, then you start to realize how important that is, right? And so let's just start, and we're going to go through it in detail. I'm going to face the camera a little bit, and then I'm going to turn toward the rear camera just as well. Okay. So first thing is I like to start with both palms just below the kidneys there, sitting off the top of my hips. And what we're going to do, I'm going to try to break it down, and then we'll blend it up. Okay. Breaking it down wise, I'm going to take my hand and reach back behind me. But notice how I did that. I didn't do it through my shoulder. I turned my hip and my waist. I rotated on the axis. And now the goal is to keep my palm up toward the sky as much as I can, and to make this circle as wide and as flat as I can. What's that little Hawaiian exercise they do where they crawl underneath that stick? Limbo. Yeah, there's a moment in time. That's what it reminds me of, right? Then I take the other hand. Notice how my weight is on this leg. Then as I whip the tail over, it comes all the way over. Now, when I get ready to go into limbo here, I sit back, arch back as far as I can. And there we go. Ryan and Abe can tell you that this exercise is like learning the alphabet. Isn't that right, boys? Now I'm starting to blend it up a little bit. And by that, what I mean is that the ending and the beginning of each side become one. So once I get into here in the limbo phase, as soon as I start to rotate back, as this hand is circling in, this hand begins to circle out. How's that feel, Gallagher? Attaboy. Good. Okay. I'm going to turn so that the people online can see me from this side just as easy. And I want you to really feel like most of the work is done without momentum, not yet anyway, because once you start adding momentum to it, now you're trying to look at application. You're still supposed to be in the sentient world in this one. If you needed something to think about, what if you were just part of the bamboo forest as the stormy winds came by and you were blowing and you could feel it blow over you and then turn you? We'll do one more to each side. No, let's just do one more. How you doing, Peter? All right. Good. All right. Now I kept y'all a little bit longer. Sorry about that. Any questions? I can't emphasize enough how important that one exercise is. I teach y'all that early on because I know later you're going to need it. But for most of you, what will happen is you'll learn it. It feels kind of good, and then it gets tossed into the little toy bucket over there on the side, and you may not explore it as much as you could have, right? And then later on, you're going to want to learn something, and I'm going to refer to it, and you're going to be a little bit lost, right? So when you're learning it, just take your time, move from the core, and get the work in. Did you have a good time online?